Welcome to Weaving Happiness Through Grief, where we navigate the delicate balance between love, loss, and the resilient heart. I'm Stephanie, an author and storyteller who found joy and healing after the unimaginable heartbreak of losing a once-in-a-lifetime love. This podcast dives into the raw truth of grief, the beauty of cherished memories, and the hope of new beginnings. Through my journey, rediscovering happiness and opening my heart again, I've learned that grief and joy can coexist, and love can find us when we least expect it. Join me as we honor the past, embrace the present, and step boldly into the future with courage and vulnerability. Let's celebrate the resilience of the human spirit and the beauty of living fully, even after a loss. Welcome back. That first morning, I woke up in our bed alone, and it felt like a nightmare. Jeff was gone. His wish was to be cremated, and I would never see him again. One of the things I realized is that because his diagnosis was 3.5 years ago, I started grieving the day he was diagnosed on April 27th, 2018. I didn't start my grieving on September 1st of 2021. Everyone's grief is so different. If you lose the love of your life, or anyone really, the grieving is so different for each of us. Mine started the day he was diagnosed because it was terminal. And although we held out hope, there was a part of me that still knew that I had to come to terms internally with what I was facing. So when I woke up on September 2nd, my first thought was, okay, now how do I honor him? What can I do? And so I started planning the funerals. I called them celebrations of love, different than celebrations of life, because it was just celebrating our love, his love, the love he brought to all of us. It was so special and so unique. But because Jeff lived in Canada, I had 2 celebrations of love. So we did one up there, and he and I spoke about these and what he wanted and what that would look like, because we had the time to do that. And to me, as painful as it was to have these very open conversations, they were invaluable because I knew what he wanted. And then I got to just curate it and tailor it to make it just perfect so he would be smiling down on all of us. So one of the things he told me he wanted, not too many particulars, but one thing was he wanted it, in Canada, of course, one of them, and one here for his life he built here with me in California. So the one in Canada we had there. And he also wanted his ashes to be spread at the family farm, which we did that after the service, and it was absolutely beautiful. Got on the plane. My kids were flying in from wherever they were in college at the time. We got on the plane to meet everybody there, and I was on the plane alone, and I had his ashes with me. And it was very surreal. I know I cried a lot. I listened to a lot of music on the plane, but I don't remember too much, except for one thing in particular stands out on that flight up to Canada. I had a small layover in Calgary, and I got off the plane, and I was just staring as to almost like a paralyzed kind of frozen state, but like just going through the motions. And I got off, and the second I landed and I walked through that kind of customs area there in Calgary, I immediately remembered everything. I remember my first trip to Calgary when I met him there, my very first time to Canada, at the Calgary Stampede, and he greeted me at that same entrance. And normally I would fly into Edmonton, but for whatever reason, there wasn't a good time and it didn't work out, so I went into Calgary this time before taking a small flight up to Edmonton. And I literally saw all the memories flashing before me, and I raced as fast as I could through customs to find a hallway so I could be alone, and I just broke down and collapsed because all I could think about was when he first picked me up and that look on his face, and the music was playing, because the Calgary Stampede, what they'll do is they literally will have a band playing when they greet you off the plane. And it's cowboy hats everywhere and guitars and haystack. It was absolutely incredible. And here I am now for a completely opposite, polar opposite, different purpose. It was a beautiful service in Canada. All his family and friends were present. And then I got home and started planning the other service. And it was a beautiful service there as well in California. One thing, I didn't know where I was going to have it at either location, but the one in California, I know again, Jeff, he loved the farm. He loved being a cowboy. He loved all of that, everything to do with the country. And so where I lived at the time in Chino Hills, there's a place called the McCoy Equestrian Center. And it's a beautiful venue surrounded by horses and white fences. And it was just incredible, and trees flowing everywhere. So we had his service there. And that was, both were equally special. I got home after the funeral, and it was kind of like there were like mini celebrations, right? So you're happy to see everybody. It's celebrating Jeff, telling great stories about him, but then the sadness, as soon as I got home, I was alone. And friends and family would offer to come over, but I took them up on it, but I just needed to get moved through this terrible, terrible time. My one cousin in particular, Vanessa, her and her husband, Rudy, they offered to come over. And they said, cousin, we'll come over, and what do you need? And so many people did this for me. But one thing that stands out is that the house was full of pills and medicine and machines and trach supplies and gloves, everything. It was everywhere. The loft turned into a triage center. They were in our bedroom. They were just everywhere. And it wasn't that I didn't want to see Jeff, but it was just so much in my head. So my cousin came over and she helped me pack it all up and put it away. She wiped everything and cleaned it and just got rid of all the pills and disposed of them for me in the proper way. But one thing in particular that really stands out, when we were doing this, I love having music on. Jeff and I always loved that. And that doesn't change. It's still the same for me today. I was in the house and I slept with his phone because it was still somehow that felt like a part of him. And I slept with his phone and I had it in the bed with me. And I go downstairs, let my cousins in. We're going to go through the house and start cleaning up some things to make it feel more, take away that suffering part of Jeff that broke my heart every day, the pills. And all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, let's turn on the music. And I know how to do it. I've done it 1,000 times. And I can't turn the music on, and it won't turn on the speakers throughout the house. And I just wanted to hear something. That silence was it was deafening. So I was quite frustrated. I couldn't turn it on. Tried it 10 ways. They're super into technology. They tried to help me. We couldn't figure it out, and we just thought something's not working. That's fine. And shortly after that, all of a sudden, the music started playing, and I thought, oh, okay. My phone must be working. Great. So I looked at my phone. I was trying to see what playlist was playing. And I'm scrolling through it, and I'm realizing my phone is, I don't know how you would say it, not on. It's not on. There's nothing there. There's no music. You can usually see the iTunes pop up, but there was nothing there. And I opened it up to the iTunes, and nothing was playing. I thought, oh, well, that's weird. Maybe it picked up from the TV because we could play from the TV. So I looked over, nothing's on. Look, maybe it's my cousin's phones. Picked it up, grabbed it from the Bluetooth. Nothing's on. And I couldn't figure it out. We couldn't figure out where the music was coming from. And all of a sudden, I started listening to what the songs were. I'm like, oh, that's that Old Dominion song that talks about honeybee. And then the next one was another one of our favorite countries that we'd seen in concert is Brett Young. And it was Ticket to LA. And it talks about they were at the airport and they met, and she was flying back to LA, and she was actually an attorney, I think, or going to law school in the song. And then the last one was, and I can't recall the name of the artist right now, it's escaping me. I think it was also Brett Young. It's I'm Here Tonight. Or I'm Here, I think it's called. And it was Honeybee, Ticket to LA, and I'm here. And I was like, oh my gosh, which playlist is this? This is incredible. And then we couldn't figure out where the music was coming from. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, where's Jeff's phone? This is like his playlist. And I couldn't find it. It was nowhere to be found. And then I realized I was sleeping with it the night prior. And sure enough, I could find the phone. It was upstairs still in the bed from the night before. I hadn't touched it that day. And that was his way of telling me, honeybee, I'm here. And ever since then, I always just, we all see signs. So many people have lost so much, but you don't look for them and make them up. Sometimes they're just there, but you're keeping your eyes open and your heart open. And those were signs that started to make me feel like, okay, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to be okay. We're going to be okay. And that was one of those first moments that I felt at peace, truly just like I could breathe again. And I was at peace listening to those songs that day.
As we close this episode of Weaving Happiness Through Grief, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey of remembrance, resilience, and rediscovery. Loss is a path none of us choose, but together we can walk through it, honoring the love that was and of the life that still awaits us. If today's story touched a part of your own journey, know that you're not alone. Grief, though profound, doesn't close us off from joy. It teaches us how to hold space for both love and loss. And sometimes, it opens our hearts to unexpected new beginnings. Join me next time as we continue to explore healing, acceptance, and the beautiful bittersweet moments that remind us life can still be filled with happiness. And remember, while we honor the love that has shaped us, we open ourselves to the hope that the future holds. Please head over to the show notes to find out more of the ways I offer guidance on the topics I discussed in the podcast, or visit thestephanieduran.com. Until next time, take gentle steps forward, hold your memories close, and know that joy and love in all its forms continues on.